Good morning, friends. How's everyone doing today? I am doing good. Going swimming today for my sister's birthday, and I'm looking forward to that because where I live, it's supposed to be about 108 degrees. But I wanted to tell you about some of the shadow work that I've been doing. Um, I've always thought I was doing shadow work until I researched it even further. And people always say journal, 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 journal. We all hear that. I heard it in rehab and in any therapist sessions, anywhere I go, journal, journal out your feelings. And I used to journal all the time. When I was younger, I kept journals like from elementary school on, and a lot of trauma happened around that. I was raised very strict Christian, and my mom read my journals and she made me burn them because of the things that I wrote in them, which were my feelings. But I want you to know I don't hold this against her. My mom is completely changed. She got caught up in this church as when she was a young parent, and today she knows. She's more on the level that I am. She's very spiritual and she has a lot of really incredible gifts. I would love to do a podcast with her one day. But she can like lucid dream. She can choose where she goes when she dreams. Um, and she's an incredible woman. But when I was younger, church was a big part of my conditioning, a huge part. And so I had written something about something that a boy at school in junior high did to me, which was we were just kind of like making out type thing, but I wrote details and it scared her. She didn't know what to do. And so in her mind, I think getting advice from the church was to get rid of it. Get rid of those thoughts that were not Christian. You don't do things like that when you're before you're married, when you're Christian. And instead of talking to me about it, I stood in front of our wood fireplace and threw every journal in there and watched it burn. And that's been a huge trauma for me. And I forgive her and I love her so very much. I know I'm grateful that I had a mom that tried as hard as she did and cared as much as she did. She did her best. So then it went on to I had a boyfriend who burned my journals because I had writing about ex boyfriends in it. And then my ex abuser also burned my journals because it had stuff written about him in it. And he didn't want anybody to ever find them. So 3 times in my life, I've had a lot of my writings burned. And so journaling has been kind of a sore spot for me. But watching a podcast that someone did, and I think it was Clark Kegley, um, who is incredible. You should watch him. He talked about journaling and what that looks like as far as shadow work. And so I started doing it. And I'm doing it in the way of facing myself and using it for many different reasons. But one of the main purposes is for my dark night. So I'm asking myself questions and hard questions and taking the time to figure out how to respond to myself. And also, I keep it by my bed at night because, like I said, ideas or downloads or whatever it is come to me at night. And so last night I had a huge download or just idea. I don't know. I don't know the difference. But they're ideas that don't normally come to me. So, um, I talked about I need to slow down with my YouTube. I need to have some balance. I started my YouTube channel and I let everything else go. So I wrote that down, slow down, balance. And, I don't know if I would have remembered if I wouldn't have journaled this. And then I asked, myself questions about my relationship and how I feel in this relationship at this point and all the things. And, I came up with some really good answers. And then I wrote about grief. My daughter, my 7-year-old, is grieving and I feel very unequipped to help her, but I'm going to help her. And so I wrote down a bunch of ideas, like what I can do to help her. She's afraid at night because she's afraid of the thoughts in her head about her sister dying. She doesn't want to sleep alone. It's very difficult. I haven't got much sleep since my daughter died. And and that's okay because I'm doing what I need to do to help my daughter. I just need to know that I'm doing the right thing. So I wrote down a bunch of from age from when you're in your mom's womb to age 7 is the age of conditioning. Children this age mimic and watch everything that their parents and adults in their lives do. And Jill's entire life, up until a few months ago, was nothing but panic, fight or flight, and stress. And so she is 7, and she is conditioned now to have panic attacks, stress, fear, be so afraid of sadness because I always avoided it because of Poppy before. And so I've conditioned her to be a wreck, a little wreck, and it just breaks my heart. So I wrote down a bunch of ideas, like start a routine with her, try to start changing her programming since she's not old enough to be conscious enough to do it completely on her own. She'll do some, but so I had an idea to write down the things like, so when I go to bed, I tell myself every night, I'm a non-smoker, I'm a wonderful mother. All these things that I'm trying to reprogram myself, I'm repetitively saying every night. My arm is healthy. My arm doesn't hurt. I don't have carpal tunnel. I don't have ulnar neuropathy. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. But for Jill, I'm going to start writing it down so she can see it. I'm going to put sticky notes in her room that say, Jill is good. Jill is wonderful. Jill is amazing. Jill is smart. Jill is good. Jill is good, because she tells me she hates herself, and it breaks my heart. And it's because she's so uncomfortable in her own body, being unable to express these emotions that I taught her not to express because I was afraid of them. So there's guilt in there that I have to get rid of, and I wrote that down too. And if I'm going to be a good mom and I'm going to do this right, there can't be room for guilt. I, like my mom, did the very best I could. I was a single mom. I was working at a very hard job and around the clock and raising her alone. And I was very scared and I was very stressed. And I didn't know that I'd been in fight or flight for so many fucking years. So I did a lot of damage. And I'm working on undoing that. And I'm going to be doing a podcast on children ages from the womb to 7 and then on, because I have a lot of really good information for you parents, and for myself, you know. So I wrote down a bunch of ideas, and that's what this shadow work is. It's facing yourself. And if I wasn't writing this stuff down, I wouldn't be learning any of it. I don't remember things that come to me unless I write them down. So I'm so grateful for that podcast I watched with Clark Kigley, because journaling can be and is one of the greatest answers to going internal and finding out answers and finding out about yourself and finding solutions, and also not reacting but taking the time to respond and think things through. So I'm just really thrilled, and I wanted to share with you that, journaling is very, very helpful when you're trying to do your shadow work and grow, and it keeps you conscious. I wake up in the morning and I read this, and I'm immediately conscious of what my thoughts were and my downloads were, and then I can act on them. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon. And I hope you have a wonderful day and smile beautiful.